The schools are obviously doing an amazing job, but the way they can do a better job is with parents and teachers and administrations, people that are making the curriculum decisions, everyone to be on the same path.
I sometimes think that in all the efforts of the testings and the curriculums, it's forgotten that all children aren't standard, so they shouldn't all be taught in a standard manner.
There's different paths in life, and I think it's important that all those be reflected in your curriculum.
Education. The topic can ignite any number of comments, criticisms, and questions. Today's students are faced with more choices, and some may argue more pressure than ever before. Educators work long hours with limited resources, state funding is on a decline, and the new Common Core standards will alter the very building blocks of our curriculum. With all this in play, District 203 Superintendent Dan Bridges thought it was time to tap into the community to get their take on the issues, giving them the power to help implement change and shape the future of the district. His method? A series of sessions called Future Focus.
What we do is changing. Kids that are coming to our schools are changing, our accountability is changing, the resources and funds we have available to us are changing. It's a perfect opportunity for us to have a conversation as a community about what we value and what's important in our school system.
The first task was to create a neutral committee to lead the sessions, made up completely of community volunteers who had no ties to the school administration.
Very diverse in regards to thoughts and experiences, as well as where people are either with or without children in the district. And I think it's a great balance and somewhat representative of the attendees to the Future Focus sessions as well.
The group is headed by Mark Trembacki and Kathy Ruiz, both active parents in the district. Their team meets regularly to organize each session, focus on key issues that came out of each meeting, and use that information to shape the next discussion.
This is just a really exciting process from my perspective, and the team that the district helped to assemble from the community, it's a great group of people, and everybody is so engaged and prepared to share their opinions and their thoughts in such a productive way. You know, I sit in business meetings all day long, and to come to something like this where there's just this very diverse group of people, you know, presenting their ideas in such a productive way is just really a treat.
This group of 15 would meet regularly to organize each session, focus in on key issues that came out of each meeting, and use that information to shape the next discussion. Their mission was both to help residents understand the opportunities within District 203 and to support the development of plans for the immediate, intermediate, and long-term future of the district.
I think that it's a starting point to continue to build on what's already a really good fabric of community here in Naperville, but to make that even stronger and to make sure that the joys, the concerns, the values of the community are reflected through a process that can be ongoing.
To kick things off, the team decided the first session would focus on the state of the district, and all residents were invited to attend. 2 sessions were held, 1 a.m. and 1 p.m., to ensure the possibility for maximum attendance. The format for each was the same. Attendees would be given a random table number to sit at as they arrived to encourage a diverse background at each table. They would hear an address about the day's topic, then be given time to discuss at their tables what surprised them, their concerns, and their top priorities moving forward. Superintendent Bridges led the address.
The State of the District presentation will provide you with an overview of the following: who we are as a school district, what it is we do and how we are doing, and what financial resources are necessary to help us do what it is we do.
Over the past 30 years, the district's enrollment has increased from 9,000 students to nearly 17,500. Along with that growth in size has come a shift in demographics. Over the past decade, the percentage of Caucasian students has gone from 83.9% to 68.7%, with increases in the African American and Hispanic percentages. Another significant change was in low-income students, going from 1.2% in 2000 to over 11% today. Chief Officer Dave Zager gave the crowd an overview on that very topic.
The district receives funding from three main sources: local revenue, such as property taxes, interest income, and fees paid by students, lunches purchased; State of Illinois funding, which is generally general state aid and mandated grant reimbursements; and federal funding, special education and low-income grants.
Of those, the greatest source of funds is property taxes, accounting for about 85% of funding for District 203. Only 8% is provided by the state, and that number is expected to decline. The largest expense is student instruction, coming in at 64%, about 8% higher than the state average. When compared with similar unit school districts, 203's per pupil expenditures fell right in the middle of the pack, though providing higher academic performance, showing that Naperville provides quite the bang for the buck when it comes to spending. Financial projections show the district has enough revenue to balance expenses through 2018.
When you look at the finances of that all of this funding, everything is being cut. So you as a teacher are being expected to differentiate within that classroom, as opposed to maybe breaking those groups up and having a teacher who can meet, this 10 or even 15, 20 kids' needs, this teacher who could, putting the class like that, or structuring the classes like that, what is going to happen ultimately to the educational system?
And the pressure doesn't get any less with the new Common Core standards soon to be put into place. Naperville has always striven to provide the highest quality instruction, and test scores reflect that. ISAT assessment of 3rd through 8th graders has stayed consistently between 93% and 95% over the past 6 years. ACT scores average at 25.3, the highest among their comparison districts. Yet PSAE testing in the high schools showed a different trend. Over the past 10 years, average scores have steadily declined from 84% to 79%. And over the past 4 years, overall district scores in reading and math have slowly begun to slide, showing significant achievement gaps.
All of these kids in the middle, which are the vast majority of the kids in our school district, have very little support. They're just there. They show up, they do what they're supposed to do. They're not necessarily challenged. The programming doesn't challenge them, push them, because they're the kids that show up every day and do what they're supposed to do. And so they kind of get lost, the middle kids.
It's always the lower and the higher. And I know it's hard to meet those needs, like, oh, I didn't even talk to that kid today because he just sits there and does what he needs to do, but maybe he could also be pushed.
The greater number of students has put a strain not just on teachers, but also facilities. Last year brought boundary changes through a redistricting map to better balance attendance. Even so, projected enrollment 5 years from now shows most elementary schools at near capacity, and the possibility of all-day kindergarten could further complicate the matter.
Elmwood definitely needs the space to accommodate students during lunch. We don't have a multi-purpose room, we don't have a cafeteria, a new gymnasium. I would assume BB, based upon these results, they don't have the facility available to accommodate the needs of the students as well.
Just the specific location plans per school to see how it's going to impact the rest of the school by diverting additional classroom space for all-day kindergarten.
Do we keep all the kindergartners in one area of the building, or if construction makes us add on somewhere else, it's not a really great thing to split up those younger children from that part of the building together, so that is a concern.
It was no surprise that when the time for group reporting came about, a few common topics began to emerge.
Top priorities being the student performance and achievement, as well as the budget.
Our biggest concern is closing the achievement gap across the district, considering the increase of students needing support for free and reduced lunch.
We also had a concern about how will the district meet the needs of our newly diverse population, including language barriers.
The school district finances were a real surprise to us. Our second priority was facilities, and we kind of lumped personnel, student demographics into that, and that's where we parked our biggest concern with the student redistribution.
And our number 3 was again looking at our facilities and being able to balance the enrollment versus the capacity.
Interestingly, the participants in the PM session tended to draw out more socio-emotive topics, such as supporting students through the changing curriculum, managing their stress levels, and supporting teachers, perhaps a result of an older crowd with students in the higher grade levels.
People are using that as a framework to touch about the issues of stress management, bullying, heroin and drug use, the abilities for people to be able to balance life, the stress and demands of academic learning with extracurricular activity and just socialization. And then very honestly, that's a microcosm of what you can experience as an adult in the workplace.
Facilitators and the superintendent held a post-session roundtable of their own to discuss the dominant concerns pulled from the first meeting, then use them to formulate topics for future sessions. After noting that test scores and achievement tended to come up in all groups, the team decided on this question for session number 2.
We talk about our school district being a high-achieving, successful school district, and sometimes when you talk about getting better, people hear that message as, well, what do you mean we're not good enough? And I think when you are at a point where you say you can't get better, and I don't want to be a part of an organization like that, because I saw this school district as one that is doing very well. But there's so much that's changing. When we talk to the community about who we are is changing. We're having significant changes in our demographics. What we do in our classrooms is changing with the implementation of Common Core and new assessments. And how we get it done, the resources available to us as a school district are changing also. With all of those changes taking place, we had an opportunity to either say, we're pretty happy with how we're doing, let's just keep going status quo. Or an opportunity to say, hey, we're doing pretty good, but we can do even better. There's opportunity for growth and improvement. That's the direction we've taken, and I think the community is fully behind that.
The first Future Focus was a success not just in execution and content, but as a guideline to open up conversations to come.
The tagline for the program is educate, collaborate, and communicate. And those are really the things that we want to do, not only now for Future Focus, but ongoing into future ways of engaging the community around important issues and important topics. So I think the other thing that's really exciting about this is it's a framework for how to invite people to participate, to be able to share information that's important and on the minds of the administration, but then also to understand what our community wants to know more about, wants to understand better, and wants to see happen in our schools.
In total, over 300 residents took part in the sessions, and were happy to be included in shaping the district's future.
I think that it's nice to have the community involvement like this, and to have a lot of different opinions from so many different people can only better the change. That's my hope.
All of us working together is going to make our community the best it can be.
I think that's the great thing about this whole process, is it's really going to introduce our community to a new way to communicate with the school district.